Okay, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Friday Footfalls. Going to do something a bit different today and just do a bit of a chat around how my tournament went over the weekend, the list I played, and what I sort of do to go forward, as well as just discussing a few just things I learnt from the tournament as well. So for those of you from outside the UK and I guess people that haven't heard of them, there's a company in the UK called Axion now who run large events every sort of quarter here. They usually get anywhere sort of around 200 players, and a lot of them offer invites to the regional championships. And they also say that the top 8 of each of them get invited to their invitational, which is what I was at this weekend. The invitational comes with obviously prizes and also qualifies directly to the Pro Tour. We did there was 8 rounds, 40 players, and there were 5 rounds of modern and then 3 rounds of draft. So the draft of the latest set. So just chat a bit about how I did and how I found it, how I found the deck. So this was the deck I registered, Rhinos. So pretty standard. This is a list I found online. So I think this is the one I played in the last video as well. So you can go and check that out if you haven't seen it already. So I mean, it's got all the hallmarks of a normal Rhino deck. You know, you've got the Violent Outburst, the Charlotte's Agents. Playing 1 Murktide, 1 Fury in the main. Only 3 Lorien revealed. Only 2 Mystical Dispute, and then we've got Brazen Borrower, Subtlety, and then the sideboard kind of geared to beat some of the big mana decks and the Ring. So, you know, good things against the Ring being Questing Beast and Bonecrusher Giant and Commandeer, stuff like that. So yeah, this is what we went with. So unfortunately the modern portion did not go very well for me. I ended up going 2 and 3 out of 5 rounds, but one after a loss in round 1 I did get the bye. So essentially I was 1 and 3. I think the deck did feel pretty good, but I think I played a little bit poorly sometimes. So a couple of things with the list. I think I think an extra Lorien reveal may have helped somewhat. I did like the Flame of Anor Mutavault combo, which did come up a couple of times. I think I didn't mulligan necessarily aggressively enough, so I found myself keeping some hands where I don't know if I got a bit tilted from the earlier rounds where I didn't manage to, I didn't manage to sort of get there and sort of do enough stuff, and I ended up keeping hands that were very control-y. They might have had some forces and some fire ices, but I just didn't have any cascaders, and I just never drew them. Maybe made a few wrong decisions and just never got there without any pressure. So for example, game 1 against Tron, maybe kept something with fire ices and things on the play, and then just got run over. So I think that's lesson number 1 is, considering the matchup, it might be sometimes better to have to mulligan pretty aggressively for these cards that enable us to make 10 power on turn 3. Other things, there are just a few misplays, I think. So I played the Mirror, and I was really far ahead. We both kind of not got. I had a huge Murktide Regent and 2 Rhinos. My opponent had an Endurance and a Charlotte's Agent. They made an attack with both. I was at 6 life, and I went for I blocked each one with a Rhino, but then Fury came down and finished off both of my Rhinos, and then I sort of lost the game after that. So I think that was a key one. I should have made different blocking with the Murktide probably, so I didn't lose both of my 2. I didn't lose 2 creatures. I think that was a big thing there, is just thinking about what's in your opponent's hand, and I really should have I made the block very quickly. So just a lesson there to just sit and think. We weren't pressed for time. The Rhino's Mirror is often quite quick, so I should have just taken some time, thought about what could be in the opponent's hand, why are they making that attack, and then just spent a bit more time thinking about my blocks. Another one was against a Coffers deck, and I managed to get them down to 2 life, and then in my haste to win the game in their upkeep, I went for fire, and completely forgetting that they had what's the card, Cling to Dust in their graveyard. They had loads of mana. They Cling to Dusted the one of my creatures, and yeah, gained 3 life and lived, and then just took over the game in that turn, really. So I should have waited for them to use their mana, or waited to draw another burn spell or a counter spell, or waited for them to go for Cling to Dust so that I could fire in response. So yeah, again, just thinking about just being aware of what's in the opponent's graveyard, and what they could have, and the best time to cast your spells, and when you need to wait, and being patient essentially is a big one there. So yeah, that was another one. Scam, I did get the win against Scam. I think the deck is good against Scam. We've got a decent plan against it. So, we can bring in mid-rangey type cards like Bone Crusher and Fury and Questing Beast and stuff. It was an interesting one, game 1, because my opponent sort of went for the Scam, and I subtlety'd it, then played a land in my first turn. They stuck Grief right on top. They played Grief. I went for Dead Gone to kill the Grief, and they, I think, were very perplexed and just cast Not Dead after all, which I then forced and negationed. It pitched all of the cards in my hand, but then, I just had lands. The opponent didn't get anything with the Grief anyway, and then it kind of set us up. They didn't have any pressure, and yeah, I just top decked from there, managed to get some Cascaders. So yeah, I think don't be necessarily afraid to subtlety and force aggressively against Scam, because if they've kept the hand and it's just the Scam with Grief, then they might not have any pressure, and we can just kind of draw out of it. So yeah, that's how the tournament went. Draft went, if anyone is interested, draft went a lot better. I think my deck was really good. I went 2-1, losing a very, very close game to another really, really good deck, but it was really fun. If you are in the UK, I can highly recommend playing the Axion tournaments. They're really good. They've kind of really stepped up to the plate to organise competitive games in the UK. So yeah, that was just my sort of rambling about Rhinos. What next? So I think if you've been following the latest set and the latest developments, there is a new card that is very good in Rhinos. It is Tishana's, I think it's Tishana's Tidebinder. It's a 3-mana blue Merfolk 3/2 with flash, and when it enters the battlefield, you can counter a triggered or activated ability. And then if it's a artifact or creature, or if it's a permanent essentially that the ability comes from, that permanent loses all abilities until the Tidebinder leaves the battlefield. So far, I've played a little bit with it, and just watched some people playing with it, and there's some very good interactions for Rhinos just to be aware of. So I thought I'd just go through some of those now. A key one is if your Rhinos are coming off suspend and the opponent has Chalice of the Void, you can counter the Chalice trigger. You can counter the Cascade trigger from an opponent's spell. So if it's the Mirror, you can counter their Cascade trigger to get them Rhinos, or if it's Living End, you can counter, again, the Cascade trigger to stop them cascading into Living End. You can counter the Engineered Explosives trigger. So if you have Rhinos and someone blasts off Engineered Explosives, you can counter the trigger so your Rhinos don't die. The classic one, you can counter fetch land activations, so you can punish people for kind of fetching if their deck's pretty mana hungry. You can counter, there's just so much stuff that hits. So I'm definitely going to be playing at least 2 going forward, I think, and there will be, I think, next week's Friday Footfalls League will be with Tishana's Tidebinder in, so do look out for that. What else? I think, the other big thing to note is that Tishana's Tidebinder is a wizard, so really incentivizes us to play at least 1, maybe 2 copies of Flame of Anor, allowing us to, that card's just busted when you have a wizard out. So another good point for that. So yeah, that's just my ramblings on the weekend and on Rhinos in general. Hope people enjoyed that. Sorry it's not a league this week, but I just wanted to to get that out and have a bit of a discussion. So do let me know if you've got any comments on the list or any thoughts about what you're going to do going forward with Rhinos. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next time with some tie binder action. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and see you next time. Cheers.